WhatsApp chat. And before starting the discussion, as always, let us take this moment to remind ourselves about all the meritorious deeds that we have done throughout this samsara, especially in this life, by having a very delighted mindset of alobha, adosa, and amoha. We have offered dana, we have listened to Dhamma, we have respected the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and we have done many other meritorious deeds that generate this essential energy that creates the background for us to understand Arya Dhamma. So let us think about all of that, and may all of that energy, that positive energy, agglomerate together, creating the perfect environment for us to understand Dhamma, creating the external environment which is essential for the Dhamma discussion, which is a calm, quiet, and a peaceful environment that is that nurtures the mind to cultivate wisdom, and also the mindset, the calm, quiet, and peaceful mindset that would help us to understand these core concepts about the reality of life. So with that idea, accept this blessing with sadhakara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
And we have not only the meritorious deeds, we have done other unwholesome deeds as well throughout this samsaric journey. If they were done towards triple gems, towards Arya individuals, then that might hinder our understanding, that might cover up our Nibbana pathway. So that might cover up the opening of the eyes of wisdom. So what we can do is we can acknowledge our faults, and we can promise ourselves that we are not going to do those kind of unwholesome acts again. So let's take this moment to acknowledge our faults in front of Supreme Buddhas, imagining that Supreme Buddhas are in front of us. Let us seek forgiveness. And in Buddha Sasana, forgiveness is understanding our faults and correcting those faults so that we will not do those wrong things again. With that, accept this with the sadhakara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So I think we have only got few questions, 3 or 4 questions. I'll read them out and we'll move on with the discussion. I hope you have other questions as well, so we can continue the discussion based on them as well. So the first one is about this sutta, which is called Anattalakkhana Sutta, and this sutta was the sutta preached by Supreme Buddha for the Panchavaggiya Bhikkhu, or the first five bhikkhus of this Buddha Sasana, Kondanya, Vappa, Bhaddiya, Mahanama, and Assaji. So they list Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta first, and they became Sotapanna after listening to that. And all of them became Arihat after listening to this Anattalakkhana Sutta. So the question is about, I am listening to your last sermon again, and I know its meaning attati. Nameso attati. In this passage, that is closer to the scope of anatta, and in particular belongs more to anatta. I know there is no exact boundary between the three, but I want to. Three means the anicca, dukkha, and them because in the title it is anatta. So the thing is, the initial dukkha anatta. But even if one anicca, unknowingly or knowingly, that person understands dukkha and anatta as well. Anatta might be the main or the main that is a certain person. Dukkha can be that main characteristic that is grasped by the next individual. Anatta can be the next character that is grasped by another based on their indriya anatta, indriya levels. The differentiation in indriya decides which indriya, which characteristics you would understand more. Whether even whether one understands anicca more or dukkha more or anatta more, all of them understands or all of them attains the same nibbana. So nibbana is only, and they don't have separate nibbanas. For anicca, there's no anicca nibbana or separate nibbana for anicca. There's nothing like that. Separate nibbana for dukkha. There's no separate nibbana for anatta. It's the same nibbana that everyone attains. So we can give an analogy like this. So there's a river, and everyone wants to cross the river, and the other is bliss. Let's say any other side of the river, and there are various ports that you can use as a port at one place, and it says anicca. It says dukkha, and further down the river there's another port that is called anatta. Likewise, there are 84,000 Dhammakanda, so 84,000 ports. So depending on one's indriya anatta, that person would only be using one or maybe several of them. Nobody wants to use all 84,000 ports. So, but they are crossing the same river, which is the river of Avijja and Tanha, and the result is the same. Everybody crosses to the other side. So the thing is, one would enter the stream by understanding anicca, dukkha, or anatta. And in this Anattalakkhana Sutta, the initial part, if you have in the image that is supplied here, only has some part of that sutta. It does not have the complete sutta. But we have to go through the complete sutta to understand what this sutta is about. So if I go through the full sutta, it says, Ekang samayang bhagava varanasiyam viharati isipatane migadaya tatrako bhagava panchavamadesi. Bhikkadante bhikkhu bhagavato pachasosum bhagava etadvocha. And then starts the sermon. Rupang hidang atta naidang rupang abadaya sangvatteya. Labbhata Labbheta cha rupe evang me rupang hotu. Evang me rupang ma ahositi. Yasmacha ko bhikkhave rupang anatta tasma rupang abadaya sangvattati. Nachala labbhati rupe evang me rupang hotu. Evang me rupang ma ahositi. So what does that mean? And this is about rupa, and the same explanation was given to Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, and Vijnana as well. So this part is about the Anattalakkhana, not the other part. So this is where the Anattalakkhana is expressed. What Rupam Bhikkhave Anatta. So Rupa is essenceless. Why is it essenceless? Because you don't have any control over the Rupa. If that Rupa is full of essence, then you would have been able to do whatever you want. Whatever we explains, Rupa ends up in destruction, or it gets destroyed, distorted, or anything can happen. To prove like this and Rupa should be like that, but it changes. So Rupa has no essence in it. So that is the reason why it becomes anatta. So this in this Anattalakkhana Sutta. So we have to go through an example and try to understand what is explained here in short. So here in these suttas, things are explained in very short form. It's just the core concept that is explained, just the mechanism. But if we want to understand it correctly, then we need to understand what is it through an example or an analogy. So let's say this is about our rupa. What is the reason for rupa? The reason for rupa is the four mahabhutas: apo, tejo, vayo, patavi. For the sake of easiness, let's take patavi is the soil, apo is water, tejo is the fire, and vayo is the air. So these are the four elements in the surrounding. The rupa is created because of the combination, because these four things, fundamental building blocks, they come together, mixes together, and creates various types of patterns, and they are called rupa. Let's take our body, and that is a rupa. And our body as a rupa also has these four items. We have discussed this. This soil, or the solid part in our body, originally came from the environment. Our mother or ourselves has taken food, and that food is what created this body. And not only food, but oxygen as well. So and the warmth as well. So all the things, if we trace back to its original position, we find them in the environment. Apo, Tejo, Vayu, and Patavi. And all of these would go back to its original state once we die. Once we die, our body is dissociated, and the solid part would join to the solid part, Apo part would join to the Apo part, Tejo would join to the Tejo, and Vayu would join to the Vayu. So we cannot say, we cannot have, let's say, we can't say that it belongs to us, because if it belongs to us, if this rupa belonged to us, then we would be able to control it. And this is actually, there's no controlling in Patavi, because Patavi has its own way of own nature. So the behavior of Patavi has its own ways. Apo, Tejo, Vayu also has its own ways. So the combination of, or the mixing of these things creates this illusional image, which we get deceived and call it as me. And when that is the case, we start to call it me or myself, and in the process, we think that it is controllable because it's me. So me is controllable according to our wish. But the thing is, Patavi, so if the Patavi is controllable, and there's no difference between the Patavi in our body and Patavi in the outside, or Patavi in another person's body. If Patavi is controllable according to our wish, then we would be able to control all the Patavi, because there's no difference between the two, our Patavi and their Patavi, and the Patavi in the environment. So if it could be controlled, then we would be able to control all. But we know that's not the case. That's the same for Apo, Tejo, and Vayu as well. There's no significant difference between this Patavi and the Patavi in the outside world. This Apo and the Apo in the outside world. This Tejo, this Vayu, and the Vayu in the outside world. The only difference is we think that it's different, and we call that combination, we call that pattern, we call that specific number of kilograms of solidity and number of liters of water, and the number of kilojoules or whatever the measurement we take for temperature or the heat, and the whatever the liters of air, that creates this body as me, because we are not dividing it and seeing the reality. But what normal individuals do is they get deceived by the collective product, which is the rupa. And this is why it says, Supreme Buddha says here, Bhikkhave, the exact saying is, Rupam Bhikkhave Anatta. Why? Why is it a senseless? Because we don't see an essence in the solid things in the outside world. We do not see an essence in the water outside in the outside world, or the air, or the heat. Then why should we have a different say when it comes to the or Apo, Tejo, Vaya, and Patavi in our body. It is the same nature. It's the same pattern. There's nothing to hold on to. There's nothing full of essence in that as well. So this is what is explained here. So when we go through this kind of example and elaborate on what is being said in the sutta, then only we will be able to understand what is being said, what is said in this sutta. So it says, Rupam bhikkhave anatta, rupancha hidang bhikkhave atta abhavissa. So there's no way that the rupa become atta. Why? Because we cannot have rupa according to our expectations, because even though we say rupa should be like this and rupa should be like that, that does not occur. We get old, our body, our skin get wrinkled, our body get old, our hair becomes gray, we become old, our teeth starts to fall, our back starts to bend, and it starts to arch, and we would not be able to sit properly, walk properly, and the eyes would be darkened, and and we will be having tremors, and all of that would occur. And if we were able to control Apo, Tejo, Vayo, Patavi, then we would have controlled it and control the Rupa, and we would never allow ourselves to experience that situation, which is the old age. We would somehow control it. But it is not the case. So how can we say it's full of essence? It's atta. So in that way, it is anatta. So it explains the next part as well. Thinking now it is the same for Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, and Vijnana. I only went through Rupa. We'll go through the other things, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, in a bit. But let's finish Rupa first. So what is the next thing that is explained here? King Thinking Manyata Bhikkave. What do you think, bhikkhus? Rupang nichang va anichang vadi. So this is again the anicca nature that is explained inside anatta. That is the anicca, how anicca becomes anatta. That is what was explained here by Supreme Buddha before, saying Rupam Bhikkave Anatta and everything. Rupam Hidam Bhikkave Anatta Bhavisa Naidang Rupang Abadaya Sangvateya. So in that description, in that passage, it explains the anatta, anicca nature, and how anicca becomes anatta, how anicca nature becomes a essenceless characteristic. So here again, Supreme Buddha asked, what do you think, bhikkhus? Rupang nichang va anichang vadi. What do you think, bhikkhus? Rupa, whether what do you think about Rupa? Whether it is Nicca or Anicca? So the answer Anicca. Anicham Bante. Yang Panaichang Dukkang Vadi Sukhang Vadi. If something is Anicca, what do you think? It is Sukha or Dukkha? Dukkang Bante. So the answer is Dukkha. Yang Panaichang Dukkang Viparinama Dhammang. So if something is Anicca, Dukkha, and if it get deteriorated, or ends up in death and destruction, what do you think? Is it suitable to take it as me, mine, or myself, or my soul? Oh, and the answer is no. that is not suitable. And it is the same for Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, and Vijnana. So now the next step is after understanding the anatta nature. So we explained what anatta nature is, and this is the conclusion after understanding anatta, the characteristic of anatta. What is the conclusion? It is not suitable to take it as me. Why? Because when it comes to rupa, it is consist of apo, tejo, vayo, patavi, and nothing else is there. And all of that came from the land or the environment and would join the environment after we die. And in the meantime, it is here in our body. So how can we say it as me? There's no possible explanation to for that, or a logical explanation for that. Because if we take it as me, then there should be something. Let's say, for example, let's take an example and try to understand this. So we borrow something from a friend. Let's say we want to go to a party and we borrow a dress from a friend. Now we are wearing the dress. Do we call that dress ours? So someone can tell that, and that is obviously a lie. But if we want to understand the truth, we should keep the lies aside and try to understand this. So if we are being truthful, we have to say, no, this is not mine. I just borrowed this dress from that person, and I have to give it back to him after this event. So just like that, we have borrowed apo, tejo, vayo, patavi, and this is just not ours. How can we tell others or ourselves that it is me or mine? Now, me is a illusional image that is created by Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. When everything is working in synchronization, when everything is working perfectly as a process, then we see that me. And so if we divide and see, we have done this before, just like separating a bicycle into its pieces. If we separate this body into its and the mind into its different parts, we would not be able to find a single thing called me, just like we could not find the bicycle. So if I go through the example again to make it clearer for you. So when we separate the bicycle into its parts, we remove the cogwheels, we remove the brakes, we remove the wheels, we are removing the mud guards, and we are removing all the parts, and we never remove the bicycle, and the bicycle is also gone when the separation is done. And we are not applying a bicycle, but we are applying parts. We are applying mud guards, we are applying chains, cogwheels, wheels, and brakes and everything. And there comes a bicycle. So bicycle is an illusion. And how did this illusion occur? When all the parts are kept in necessary places or the relevant places, when all the parts are kept in relevant places, then we see a bicycle. A bicycle is seen there. But as soon as they are separated from its original position, there's no bicycle anymore. Just like that, when everything is kept in, all the building blocks are kept in place, we can see Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana kept together, working together. And that creates the illusion of me, just like the bicycle. And when it is divided, there's no me. Oh, me is not seen. So, just like that, how can Rupa be me? Because if Rupa is me, then after we die, Rupa is still there. Me should be there. But, or the person, the person who is saying me or I should be there. But the thing is, we say the person died. The person is not there anymore. So then the Rupa should not be me. So in that sense also we can understand easily that it is not suitable to take it as me, because it is not controllable, because it is anicca, because it is dukkha, and because it is of viparinama nature, or it deteriorates. So all of these are interconnected, so you can explain from different ways that how it becomes how it is not suitable to take it as me, mine, or my soul, or a single and big one entity that to be called as a single person. But it is a ongoing process where effect is created out of because of the causes, and this effect dies in jara marana, and another set of effects creates the next set of another set of causes creates the next effect, and that also ends up in jara marana, and the next set of causes creates the next effect, and likewise this goes on and on and on, and we call that and when we are seeing with our eyes, when we are listening through our ears, and when we use our nose, tongue, body, when we use these 5 senses, we see a single individual who is able to do whatever he or she pleases. But in reality, it is a process of causes and effects that are generated in a very high speed in a very minute time. So then we are don't have something like a soul, or something definite, something everlasting to be called as a soul, because Rupa dies then and there, it does not last. If Rupa was taken as the soul, then soul should die when the body dies, but it does not happen. Others say soul lasts, soul just went out of the body. So people think body is not the soul, something else is the soul. Now we know Vedana, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana are the 5 things in our body. So if any of that could not prove that there's an everlasting part in them, then the concept of soul is, there's no logic for the concept of soul, if that is the case. So then we understand how Rupa is not suitable to take it as me, mine, or my soul. And we in a previous discussion we have discussed this already, and you can go and listen to that again. And in that we explained how anicca, and how when something becomes anicca, that is not suitable, and how it is not suitable to take it as me. And when something is dukkha, it is not suitable to take it as mine. And when something is anatta, or of viparinama nature, it is not suitable to take it as a soul, my soul. So understanding that part is also very important. So everything would come together, and the understanding would become sharpened. So after understanding Rupa, so the thing is, in Anattalakkhana Sutta, the Anattalakkhana is initially explained, and the conclusion of Anattalakkhana is it is not suitable to take it as me, mine, or my soul. So it says it is not suitable. It doesn't say there's no me, no mine, nothing is mine, and there's no soul. It says it is not suitable, because if we decide that there's no me, then there's no one to attain Nibbana. If there's nothing that belongs to me or mine, there's nothing called mine, then there would be a whole lot of problems when we are moving in the normal world, because there would not this the clothes would not be mine, because there's nothing called mine. The house would not be mine, land would not be mine, car would not be mine, and the spouses, children, mother, father, everything would not be mine. So we would not be able to function as human beings if we take it that far. That is why there are two ends, and we should not go to these two ends. One is the end where the ones take it as the nothing end and everything end. So the nothing end and everything end should not be a part of our understanding, because it is wrong. So instead, we understand that there's nothing valuable there. So we say there's nothing valuable to take it as me. There's nothing valuable to take it as mine. There's nothing valuable here to take it as my soul. So when the value is less, the tanha does not occur. Value is coming from Nitya Sukhatha Subha. When the value is less, Nitya Sukhatha Subha is reducing. And when Nitya Sukhatha Subha is reducing, Avijja is reducing. When Avijja Tanha is gone, that is the end result that we want. So that is what Rupa is about. Now, what is the reason for Vedana? Just like Rupa came from the outside world, what is the reason for Vedana? Now, Vedana is not physical, but it is experienced in our mind. So it is a Chetasika. Chitta and Chaitasika. Chetasika, you know about Chitta, Chetasika. So what is Chetasika? It is a part in our mind, or when a mind is created, let's say a happy mindset is created, and there's this Chetasika called Vedana, and that explains the nature or the feeling what you are experiencing right now, what we are experiencing. So if it is a happy thought, then Vedana is blissful. If it is a sad thought, Vedana is suffering. If it is a neutral thought, Vedana is neutral. So it goes like that. So what is the reason for Vedana? The reason for Vedana is Pasa or touch. Eyes and images meet together, creating Vedana. It could be blissful, it could be a suffering Vedana, or it could be a neutral Vedana. And it is the same for the ears and sounds. When ears and sounds meet together, it could be a blissful Vedana, or a suffering Vedana, or a neutral Vedana. And there's this nose and smells, and tongue and the tastes, body and touches, mind and thoughts. When these six meets the external object, which is images, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, and thoughts, when the internal six meets the external six, that is touch. That is what creates Vedana. And if we go through it, we don't have any control over Vedana. That is what is said for Vedana as well. So if I go through what is being said for Vedana, it says, Vedana bhikkave anatta, Vedanancha hidang bhikkave atta abhavis, naidang Vedanang abhadaya samvatteya. Likewise, it goes for Vedana as well. So the meaning is, Vedana bhikkave anatta. Vedana is also essenceless. Why? Because you cannot get Vedana saying Vedana should be like this and Vedana should be like that. Don't have any control over Vedana. But what has the control? Phassa has the control over Vedana, not us. Us is a lie in a way, but since we feel like that, we have to explain it in that way. So what is the reason? Because Phassa leads to Vedana. We go through example here. So let's say our expectation is to feel blissful Vedana. That is what we are doing 24/7, 370, 365 days a year. What are we trying to do? We are trying to grab onto blissful Vedana using our eyes, using our ears, using our nose, tongue, body, and mind. What are we doing? When we are seeing suffering Vedanas, when we are experiencing suffering Vedanas through our eyes, we try to close our eyes or take our eyes away from that sight. Let's say we are seeing somebody being robbed or killed or hurted. Now we don't like that kind of Vedana because it's suffering. Instead, we like to watch a TV show. That is a blissful Vedana. Now we try to avoid that suffering Vedana as much as possible, and we try to associate with the blissful Vedana as much as possible. So that is what we are doing with the eyes. And that is the same, it's the same story for ears, same story for nose, tongue, body, and mind. So our mission and vision in this life is to, as a if someone is a layperson, is to associate with the blissful things and avoid bad things, suffering things. But the thing is, eyes and images meet as a vipaka. We don't have the control over that. That is the nose and smells, ears and sounds, and the external six and internal six meet together as a vipaka. So and the Vedana is decided by the Phassa. So when you understand this, when you think like that, we get the conclusion. Now then we don't have any control over Vedana because it is the Phassa is the Phassa is resulted because of karmic energy, and Phassa is what decides the Vedana. So let's say there's a bottle of water in the refrigerator, but instead of putting water, someone has put hydrogen peroxide or H2O2 instead of H2O. Now we don't know the different. Both liquids are colorless, and one is very it has a very corrosive nature. It can burn your whole body, your tongue, your esophagus, and everything. One is used to quench our thirst. So one is thirsty, and one needs this Vedana, this blissful Vedana of quenching the thirst, and goes and opens the door of the refrigerator and takes the bottle out and drinks, and ends up in suffering Vedana. But that person did not wanted the suffering Vedana, but received it anyway. So why is that? because we cannot control Vedana according to our expectation. We expect one thing, but gets another. So the thing is, when we understand like that, we understand that Vedana is Anatta. We cannot control according to our expectation. We cannot say Vedana should be like this and Vedana should be like that. In that way, it is senseless. That's pointless. It is pointless to use this kind of a Vedana. That is the message explained here. So when someone understands Vedana like that, then comes the conclusion. What is the conclusion? Should we take it as me? Should we take it as mine? Or should we take it as my soul? Initially, we should not take it as me. Because Vedana, if we take it as me, not like the body, we can see it for at least 80 years, 60 years, whatever the time that person lives. But Vedana arises and dies then and there. If we are having an ice cream, the feeling or that blissful feeling of ice cream is gone as soon as the touch is gone. Or for a fraction of touch, there's only a fraction of Vedana. When the fraction of touch dies, the Vedana dies with it. So thing is, if we say Vedana is me, then me has died a long time ago. So we cannot say just one Vedana. Vedana is just arising on and on. It is an ongoing process. For a fraction of touch, there's a fraction of Vedana. There's nothing to call as me in that because it is an ongoing process. So there's nothing to call it as mine as well because it belongs to, just like Apo Tejo Vayo Patavi belongs to environment or the surrounding, and we cannot call it as mine. Vedana belongs to touch. Touch decides the what is experienced is decided by touch. So it belongs to touch, not us, just like the rupa. So there's no point in taking it as mine. And there's no point in taking it as my soul, because how can we talk about a soul, a constant thing, a solid thing, an everlasting thing, when Vedana cannot last even for a second? So that is why it is not suitable to take it as me, mine, or my soul. Vedana. And it is the same for Sanya. What is Sanya? Sanya is the identification. And identification comes only because there is touch. Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, they comes together. Though they are different entities, they are interconnected. They arise together and eliminate together. So Vedana, when someone is having a Vedana, when there's touch, only that person would be able to identify it or recognize it. So recognition is also decided by touch or passa. Passa decides what recognition you get, what recognition we get. If it is let's say, now it is the same for recognition as well. We don't like to recognize some things, we like to recognize others. So we like to recognize a nice cup of tea, but we might not like to recognize a poisonous snake. So, but the thing is, if the passa comes, or the touch comes in that certain way, and there's this karmic energy flow that has already decided that we would see a poisonous snake, then the recognition would occur, and that process is not controlled It cannot be controlled according to the expectation. So when something cannot be controlled according to expectation, then there's no essence in that. The whole process is pointless, because what we are trying to do is we are trying to control. The process of controlling according to the expectation, or having expectations that this should occur like this and this should occur like that, is totally pointless, and that is anatta. And it's the same pattern. So again, now we have gone already through two of the items. Now the third item is also like that. So again, it is not suitable to take it as me, mine, or my soul. So that is again about sanya. And this is the same for sankhara as well. What is the reason for sankhara? Again, touch. For example, we'll go through example here. So we are we are listening to this Dhamma discussion, and it is getting dark. And now we know sankhara has three parts. What are those? Mano sankhara, vachi sankhara, and kaya sankhara. That is thoughts, words, or thinking, talking, and acting. So these are the three sankharas. So it's getting darker, and we are listening to this Dhamma discussion, and you are in the other end of you are in the receiving end, and it's getting dark. What should we do? What thought comes into your mind? It's getting dark, and we said that touch is what leads to sankhara. What is the touch? Eyes touch images. So eyes and images meet, and what is the image that is met? Dark room. So there's no light. We received the darkness, or the dark image of the room through the eyes, and that initiated a thought, I should turn on the light. So touch, if there was no darkness in the room, we would not decide, that thought would not occur. So that thought is a result of touch, and it can lead to a word as well. Now the room is dark, and that is received by the eyes, which is through the touch, and this touch created this thought, as well as that person, that same individual, can shout out, can you please turn on the light? And that is a vachi karma. And that same person can walk towards the switch and turn it on, and that is kaya karma. So it is not only the eyes and images. Let's say it's a sound. Now you are listening to this Dhamma discussion in the dark, and your mother or somebody in the house shouts out, "Hey, why are you in the dark? Turn the light on." So that is the sound. That is sound and ears. So the touch occurs, and that touch leads to a thought, I should turn on the light. So that is, again, that thought would never occur if that sound was not received. So the touch is the reason for that sankhara. So again, if it is about smell, so you are listening to this Dhamma discussion in the dark, and you smell of something burning. You smell a burning sensation. So as soon as that burning sensation is felt through the nose, that is again through touch, that thought occurs, something is burning, I should turn on the light. So again with the touch. So now you are eating something, or you are eating something, or a bag of chips or something, while listening to this, and you tasted something funny, and you want to know what is it. Again, the thought comes. If you have, if an insect or some kind of an insect bites you, or you step on a nail, and that would trigger that thought, I should turn on the light and see what is that. Again, somebody has decided that, oh, we have pre-decided that I should turn on the light at 9 p.m. or 6 p.m. when it is dark. So that thought is already created, and it is in the memory. So when that thought comes, whether it's 6 o'clock, because I should turn on the light now, and that thought would trigger that sankhara, or the touch would, or the mind and thought, that touch would trigger that sankhara. So sankhara is also decided by touch. And the thing is, we cannot, even though we think, now this part is very tricky, so think about it more. Even though we think we can do things according to the expectation, we expect one thing, but we do another. We expect to not to be angry, but we get angry. We expect not to become a ragic person, but ragic thoughts come to our mind. We expect to concentrate on something, but our concentration is lost. So we expect certain sankhara, but the sankhara is a result of touch. When we are meditating, touch occurs, things come to our mind. Mind and thoughts, they meet together, creating as a result of touch. And that would lead various sankhara. And that is the starting of a train of thoughts. When we are meditating, something can pop up. I wonder what might be there for the dinner. Might be the touch, and that would lead various sankharas. Maybe I heard that they are preparing noodles. I heard that they are preparing various another food item. So depending on what was received through touch, a train of thoughts occurred, sankhara occurred. If that initial touch, the mind and the thought did not come together, that train of thought was not possible. So that is what we need to understand. So sankhara is also due to touch. So again, if that is the case, if that cannot be controlled according to expectation, and we cannot have touch, we cannot have sankhara, saying I should have this sankhara and that sankhara, then the thing is, it is not suitable to take it as me, mine, or my soul. Because sankhara, as soon as the thought is created, that sankhara died, then how can we say it is a constant, everlasting thing? Just like Vedana, just like Sanya, just sankhara is also does not last long. It is created of causes because of touch, and is eliminated because the touch does not last for very long. So again, it is not suitable to take it as me or mine, because again, it belongs to touch, not to us. If it was belong to us, then we would be able to control it according to expectation. But touch owns it. And again, it is not suitable to take it as me, because sankhara does not last for very long. And even the combination of rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, vijnana, everything, that illusional image, nama, rupa, the combination of nama or Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, and Rupa, which is Rupa. So this Panchaskanda is what creates this illusional sense of me. So that is what we need to understand. So again, that is the same for Vijnana as well. So what is the reason for Vijnana? Nama Rupa. We know Nama Rupa Pacha Vijnanam, Vijnana Pacha Nama Rupa. So Nama Rupa or various things. Again, touch is what leads to Nama Rupa, and Nama Rupa is what leads to Vijnana. So again, it is not suitable to take it as me or mine or myself. So now, Nama Rupa, if we explain it with an example for Vijnana, so we have, so let's say a Chakku Vijnana was created. So that is a Vijnana, Sota Vijnana, Gana Vijnana, Jivha Vijnana, Kaya Vijnana, and Mano Vijnana. That is all the Vijnana in one. It is one way of categorizing Vijnana. Vijnana is categorized as 6 entities here. So let's take the Chakku Vijnana. How a Chakku Vijnana is formed. Chakkuncha paticca rupecha upadati Chakku Vijnana tinna sangati passo. We have already discussed this during the last session. So Chakkuncha paticca rupecha upadati Chakku Vijnana. So what is the Nama Rupa here? Nama Rupa is the image. Chakkuncha paticca rupecha, Rupa. So that Rupa, the pattern is the shape is the Nama, and the Rupa is the pattern is the Rupa, and Nama is the name that is used here. So we can use that classification of Nama Rupa here, and where there are various ways of explaining this. So this is an easy way of explaining it. So various kinds of Nama Rupa that gets embedded in the Vijnana creates the Vijnana. So for a person who is a drunkard, so drunken or a person who is a person who is an alcoholic would see the alcohol bottle or the bar or the pub or the alcoholic friends, and the, the 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 holiday in that way. The Nama Rupa is different for that person because the Vijnana is an alcoholic Vijnana. So the alcoholic Nama Rupa would get embedded in that Vijnana, or the alcoholic Nama Rupa when it is received, or the alcoholic Nama Rupa would create the alcoholic Vijnana. If it was a small child who has never who does not have any data about drinking alcohol, then that small child would again see the same incident. He also would see the alcohol bottle. He would also see the holidays, parties, pub, and the alcoholic friends, but would not have that mindset or the vijnana, because that nama rupa is different for that person, because the Namarupa, when it comes to Namarupa, it has a very nice nirukti, but cannot be translated into English. Namyatave. Namyata means the foldability or something like that. So in our mind, when we have a different perspective about a certain thing, so for example, the alcoholic person had a different perspective about the same alcohol bottle, but the small child had a different perspective. He knew that this is a bottle of water or a bottle of liquid. Other than that, that small child did not have any data regarding the bottle of alcohol. But when it comes to the alcoholic person, that person saw that same Rupa in a different perspective, or the way of seeing it is different. So he saw a bottle of alcohol, a bottle of blissfulness. For that person, it is a bottle of bliss. And the other, for the child, it is just a bottle of something, some liquid. So it's neutral. So the vijnana is decided again by the nama rupa. What what uh, what is what the perception is about. So when that is the case, again we cannot say that it is me, mine, or myself, my soul, because it cannot be controlled according to the expectation, thinking that vijnana should be like this and vijnana should be like that. Vijnana is also doesn't last long. It is a process. When the causes are aligning, when the nama rupa is generated, it leads to vijnana. When as the nama rupa does not last for long, vijnana also does not last for long. Is the chakku vijnana doesn't last for even for a second. Sota vijnana, gana vijnana, jivha vijnana, kaya vijnana, mano vijnana has the same fate. So the thing is, we cannot have a single everlasting entity called soul there as well. So we have gone through all the five: Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So any of that did not have constant everlasting part. So there's nothing to call it as a soul or a essence. Essence is if something is everlasting, or can be kept for further, or for a longer time period. But there's nothing in this body or mind uh, which can be kept for a greater time period. So for a longer time period. So that is it about this Panchavagga Sutta or Anattalakkhana Sutta. It's the same one. It is also called Panchavagga Sutta because it is what gave Panchavagga Bhikkhu the ultimate understanding. So the last part of the in the last part of the sutta, it says, so yang panayichan dukkam viparinama dhammam. Yeah. Tasmatiha bhikkave yankinchi rupang anagat atit anagata paccupannang ajjatang va bahiddang va olarikang va sukumang va hinang va panitang va yang dure santike va sabbang rupang netang mama neto hamasmi nameso attati eva metang yatha bhutang sammapanyaya dattabba. So in that it is the same for Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana as well. So we have to see all the Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, and this is for Rupa Kanda, Vedana Kanda. Kanda means the mountain. So what is a mountain? What is the mountain? Rupa in the past, Rupa in the future, Rupa right now, and also the Rupa inside, Rupa outside. Outside means the external rupa, and internal rupa means the our um, regarding this is regarding our body and the external world. So olarika rupa means the rupa that can be felt, the dense rupa, and there are fine rupa which are mano rupa and things like that. And hinangva panitangva, hina rupa means the suffering, the not so blissful rupa, and panita rupa means the blissful rupa, and all of these rupa of various types, all of them should be taken as it should be seen as netang mama neto hamasmi and nameso attati. So it is the same for Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, and Vijnana as well. When that is done, now this is a Dhamma Pariyaya, or a method of Dhamma that ends this suffering samsara. That means this is enough up until Arihat nature. So this is a very important and also a very deep Dhamma point, and in that it says in the last passage, Evam pasam bhikkhave sutta arya savako rupam pinipindati. So if somebody, arya savaka or arya individual, when he sees like that, that individual would not get attached to rupa. So nibbindati is interpreted in a different way in most of the texts, but the real explanation is not attached. So rupam nibbindati, that individual would not attach in rupa, vedana, sanya, sankara, vijnana. And when somebody is not attaching, the raga would not occur. So virajati, viraga vimuchati. So when viraga is there, that person would not, that person would uh, get released, or that bond would break. Vimuchasming vimuttasming vimuttamiti jnanam hoti ki na jati ustam brahmacharyam katam karaniya na parang ittayati pajanati. So that would end the suffering sansara, and he would understand that there's nothing else to be done to eliminate the sansaric journey. So that is the mocha bhagavatamana panchavagya bhikkhu bhagavato bhastam abhinandunti imasmincha panaveya karanasmin banjamane panchavagyanam bhikkhu nang anupadaya asavehi vimukta chittati vimuching suti. That means they all the five of them attained Nibbana, or attained Arihat state after listening to this Dhamma point. So this is the sutta and the explanation. I hope that's clear for you. It's a bit deep concept, and it is essential to understand about that. So that is why we went through it. So if you have any question regarding that, the sutta or the thing that is explained, or the question, then it is time for you to ask the questions. And if you don't have any questions, we have two more questions, and we'll go through that. There's something. I think another definition of sankhara thought is reaction after passa. Yeah, that's correct. You can say like that. But it can be a thought or a word or a action as well, because sankhara it does not have to be a thought. Sankhara can be all three. So any more questions? Venerable, Rahula considered this the subject of meditation from the beginning. So you mean Rahula Thero? Yeah. Is this a meditation method that even beginners can do? No, actually, in Venerable Reverend Rahula's case, it was the last sermon that was done. I think, according to, maybe there were many sermons that was done with the Venerable Rahula, but when it comes to the Tripitaka, we only see three. I have only seen three suttas that was directed towards the Rahula Thero. So one is the Ambalattiko Rahulo Vada Sutta. That is the first one that was explained to him. And then comes the Chula Rahula Vada Sutta. I think it's in the Majjhima Nikaya. And then comes the Maharahulavada Sutta. So in Maharahulavada Sutta only this was explained. So the Maharahulavada Sutta was explained later in his life. But initially it was the Anattalakkhana Rahula Sutra. It was an explanation to a small child. So it is where Supreme Buddha says that this about things about lying. So one should not lie. Lying is like an empty container. So if somebody lies, that person's monkhood is also like an empty container. So things like those, and the apo and this you should be like apo, tejo, vayo, patavi, and everything was explained here. And in the later days, after meditating for some time and after listening to Dhamma, the initial part, a Supreme Buddha, or not Supreme Buddha, but the Sariputta Thero tells Venerable Rahula to practice Anapanasati. Then only the Maharahulavada Sutta was explained. So initially the Anattalakkhana, this is my explanation actually. This is my understanding actually after reading the texts, because this was not explained anywhere else. This is after reading all three suttas in sequence. First the Anattalakkhana Rahulavada, then the Chula Rahulavada, and the Maharahulavada. I understood that in the initial phase, in the Anattalakkhana Rahulavada, it was to make his mind suitable for Dhamma. And in Chula Rahulavada Sutta, he becomes Sotapanna. So it is the essential understanding that is needed. And that was again preached by Supreme Buddha to Rahula Thero after some time. So then only when somebody has opened the eyes of wisdom, then only that person is able to follow the rest of the pathway. So that is where the Maharahulavada Sutta comes. So in the Maharahulavada Sutta, he was given the ultimate understanding about this Neto Mama, Neto Mama, Neto Hamasmi Nameso Attati. So it was explained in the last sutta. So I think that's clear. And again, I should add something to this question. Is this a meditation method that even beginners can do? Now that is decided by one's Indriyananatta. So if one can understand this method very easily, it doesn't matter whether it's an elite person or a very old person in the Arya path, or it's a newcomer. It is decided by one's ability to grasp and one's ability to understand that certain principle, that certain methodology. Just whether that person has understood very much of the things that Supreme Buddha said or not. It is the individual person's experience regarding that certain principle, that certain Dhamma point. So it doesn't matter whether that person is is a beginner or an intermediate or an expert. So again, we'll go to the next question then. Yeah, the second question is, Nibbana is achieved only by Arihats. And Sotapanna did not experience Nibbana, but the resulting state of Kusala Mula Patisampada. Yeah, there's another question that is linked to the previous one. we'll go through that as well and then move on to the next one. So then after eliminating Sakkaya ditthi, you understanding Dukkha Sacca. Yeah. Then only we will be able to think in that pattern. Neto mama neto. But the thing is, you can use that same principle to get enlightened or to eliminate Sakkaya ditthi as well as the next path. Because when somebody has eliminated Sakkaya ditthi, he or she knows how to end the pathway without any other's help. So the same Dhamma point that made one Sotapanna would be enough for that person to end the sansaric journey as well. That means to end it in Arihat state. The thing is, most of the ones in Arya Sasana does not have that kind of a capacity. So they need more information, more understanding, more sermons, more help from Supreme Buddha and other colleagues or other bhikkhus, so that they can go through a very better Dhamma pariyaya or methodology, so they can actually attain Nibbana easily and faster. So that is why it is needed. So this Dhamma pariyaya can be used to attain, to open up the eyes of wisdom as well. But if we think about the practicality, the people in this era does not have that type of a capacity or a mental capacity of panya, the element of panya in them to understand this type of a deep concept initially. So they have to go through small things first and then develop the mind so that they can understand this deeper concepts. So, but it does not say that you can't. Thing is, in practical world, the individuals who are there right now might not have the necessary tools to understand this kind of a little bit of a deep concept. And we'll go to the second one. Nibbana is achieved only by Arihats, and Sotapan did not experience Nibbana, but the result state. The thing is, I'll give an example or analogy like this. So we have been searching for this tower, a very big tower, and this tower is Nibbana. The name of the tower is Nibbana. But we are looking for the tower, and we are in the let's say we are lost in a forest, and only way to get out of the forest is finding this tower, because tower is in a town or a city, and if we could see the tower through the trees or through the jungle, then we would be able to go towards that tower. Now, a very knowledgeable person about the jungle or the forest comes to us and tells us, see, you are lost in the jungle. I can tell you the pathway to get out of this jungle. See, do you see that tower? So then only that person sees the tower. And then after seeing the tower, now that the individual, our individual says, or the expert in this jungle says, now I have shown you the tower. What you need to do is you have to walk towards that tower. And once you have ended your journey, you would be able to touch the tower as well. So likewise, Nibbana, the full Nibbana, Sopadisesa or Anupadisesa, has not been touched or has not been attained by a Sotapanna. But Sotapanna has seen the path, seen what it's like and how to achieve it. because he knows the tower now. If he was asked to draw the tower, he would draw it, but he has not touched it, but he can see it from far ahead, far behind, and he would be able to go towards that tower. If that individual keeps a step in the direction of the tower, that individual would exactly know that he is moving towards the tower, because the tower starts getting bigger and bigger, and he would be able to see more details about the tower as well. But if the individual is keeping a step backwards, then that individual would know this is not the pathway to go towards the tower. Now the tower is getting smaller and smaller. So that person would exactly know what to do, where to go, and how to touch the tower or to get into the tower. So just like that, yes, that is through the Kusala Mula Patisampada. And at the end, Kusala Mula Patisampada and the Avijja Patisampada would lead to, or the Avijja Patisampada would end, and the Kusala Mula Patisampada would lead to Kriya Chitta. Kriya Chitta is a different kind of a Chitta, which is in Arihat, Arihat noble individuals. So it is not understood, or it is in the Abhidhamma part of the Dhamma, and we would not be able to understand what it is like because we have not gone there. If somebody says something about that tower while not entering, while that person have never gone to the tower, then that person would not be able to say the exact experience. He would be assuming. So let's say that person is 100 meters behind the tower. He would not be able to tell the experience about the tower, but he would be assuming that the experience would be like this and that. But if somebody has gone to the tower, that person would never try to explain something that could not be understood by a person who has never been to the tower. So that person would tell that other individual to somehow enter the tower, or somehow use the pathway and see it for yourself, and would never ever tell that person the nature of the tower, because it is not easy to understand, or it is impossible to understand something when we don't have any data regarding that thing. For example, if you have seen jackfruit and durian, both has this a similar outer shell, but it's very different. But for a beginner, it might seem similar. So if somebody has seen durian, I'll give you a better example that is easily understood. So let's say a dog. So you might have various types of dog breeds in your country, and we have different dog breeds in our country. So when I tell about a dog, what comes to your mind is a dog in your country. Maybe let's say it's a dog with long hair. Now I am talking about a dog with short hair and a very small dog breed. And this dog breed is a very big dog breed and has more hair. So when I am talking about a small dog breed, or when I am talking about a dog, what comes to your mind is the dog in your country or your area. Because I don't have that data you have in your mind about those dogs. You don't have my data, which I have, because our experience is different. So likewise, we take decisions, we read data based on our own set of data that is in our system. So when we don't have that data, so for a person who has never seen a dog and seen a kangaroo, might think that dog is some animal like a kangaroo or a cat. So they have seen cats all his life, but has never seen a single dog. But from the explanation, he has 4 legs, has fur, and very friendly, and likewise when it is explained, that person would definitely think that he is talking about a dog, but instead he is talking about a cat. So likewise, the other person would not be able to explain what Arihat state or what Nibbana is, but he knows how to reach there, and he knows what it's like, has some understanding what it would be like, because he has experienced a little bit of it. For example, if somebody has gotten rid of the attachment, he knows what type of a blissfulness it gave, because it reduced the suffering. Reduction of suffering is experienced as blissful here. So he knows if this much of non-attachment, if this much of detachment created this much of blissfulness, how much of blissfulness would one get when all the attachments are gone? So that is a projection of what you have already experienced. If I give another example or analogy, so if this tower is this big from this distance, let's say we are 100 kilometers away from the tower, and we are seeing a 1 or 2 centimeter tower at that distance. We are thinking, if this tower is this big at this distance, this might be few 100 meters in height when I reach there. So likewise, a projection or a project understanding is taken in that way, and that is how they understand what end result would be like. There's a reference as well. I did not read that before. For your reference, in existing Southern Buddhism, I think it's Buddhism, yeah, in Korea, it is as follows. Because Sotapanna experienced Nibbana for a short time, Sotapanna continues to make Nibbana the object of meditation after the experience. I don't think that makes any sense, because if somebody has attained Nibbana, why would that person go back from Nibbana that person has already experienced? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So it is something like you have already been to the tower once, but you have gone out of that somehow, and you are still finding a way to the tower. If you have already entered the tower, then why would that person go back to the jungle? Because we got rid of the jungle because we knew that it is not the place for us. So that is why it is not suitable to take it as the reference mentioned here. So the third one, it could also be Anicca Sacca and Anatta Sacca. But why are the Four Noble Truths explained based on Dukkha Sacca? Is there a special reason? Yeah, the thing is, these are two different things, of course interconnected, but Chattari Ariya Sacchani, or the Four Noble Truths, are based are given by Supreme Buddha for a different purpose. And the reality of the world, or the 3 characteristics of the world, are given, and these are simply 2 different ways of explaining. That is the easiest way to put this. These are 2 different ways of explaining the world. One in the Four Noble Truths, it is based on our our goal in life. What is our goal in life? Even though we know it, or though we don't know it, our goal in life is to eliminate suffering. That is what we do. I think we have done many discussions regarding this. So we try to end the suffering by eliminating what is experienced as suffering. For example, so from day one until the day we die, we are trying to get rid of the suffering touches that leads to suffering Vedana, and we are trying to associate with the blissful touches which leads to blissful Vedana. So that is what we are trying by doing jobs, by earning money, by buying stuff. We are trying to hold on to that. But the thing is, we are not. That cannot be controlled according to expectation. So things go south, and we start to suffer. And when we suffer, we again use that old inefficient technique to get rid of that suffering as well, and fail in the process. So the thing is, what lay individuals take it as dukkha, what our individuals take as dukkha is seen as sukha by the lay individuals. If I repeat it, the things that are taken as dukkha by our individuals are taken as sukha by normal individuals. For example, so let's say um, a car, a motor vehicle, is taken as sukha by normal individuals, but taken as dukkha using panya, of course, using wisdom, not using vedana, but using wisdom, an individual or our individual would see it as dukkha, but a normal individual would see it as sukha. And what is the reason for dukkha? That is tanha. But a normal individual would take it as the reason for sukha. So they want to get attached to that vehicle, because without getting attached to that vehicle, without touching it with your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, you would not get experience that sukha. So those people would take tanha as the reason for sukha. So the dukkha nirodha, that normal individual would take it as sukha uppada, or the way how to create sukha. How to create sukha? By creating this tanha. The opposite is by eliminating tanha. But we have to create tanha in order to experience this blissfulness that is experienced through a motor vehicle. So what is the pathway to sukha? Or in a normal individual, the pathway to sukha is by buying that car. So we have to do more and more work, earn more and more money, save more and more money, and try to buy this car. So that car is bought. Now that pathway to sukha is dukkha, of course, that everybody knows. Buying a car would have its suffering part, but they think it doesn't matter. End is blissful. When I buy the car, it would be so blissful and I would be so happy. So I would be buying that car. It doesn't matter if the pathway to buying that car or pathway to blissfulness is suffering. I would anyway go through that suffering path because the end is blissful, would be the idea of a normal lay person. That is why we do exams. That is why we do jobs. That is why we try to get promotions, because the promotion is seen as blissful, and the pathway to the promotion might be suffering, but the end is blissful. So one would anyway try to hang on to that. So that is what this is about. So the original understanding of a normal person is totally distorted from a viewpoint of an Arya. So the thing is, what we understand as an Aryas is totally different. So for the same example, the motor car, what that person achieved through so much suffering is something of anicca, something of dukkha, and something of anatta. Because we cannot control it according to expectation. It gets destroyed, it gets stolen, it gets broken, it gets dirty, and there are many things that needs to be done to maintain that car. That's a lot of work, and we have become a slave of that vehicle, and that is what the understanding of an Arya is. When that understanding is there, they see that object of sukha is as an object of dukkha, and they see the reason of sukha as the reason of dukkha. They see the elimination of dukkha is by eliminating this tanha and avijja. So that is through the Arya-Tangika Magga, and they see that as the pathway to Nibbana, or elimination of dukkha, pathway to the elimination of dukkha. So again, the pathway to the elimination of dukkha is suffering. So eightfold pathway is not a, might not be a very blissful pathways for some individuals initially, because if the person is a raga character, dosa character, or a moha character, so when the raga nature is more, one needs to discipline it, and disciplining raga nature in one's character is not easy, and disciplining dosa nature in one's character is not easy, but it has a suffering part to it, but the end is blissful because suffering is eliminated for once and for all. So that is why this, in this template, the Four Noble Truths are based on suffering. So because we are all of us are trying to eliminate suffering. So when we understand it like that, it is very easy to apply. Application is easy. When we apply it like that, we know what to do, we know how to act. But anicca, dukkha, anatta is about uh, the three characteristic of this world. All the things, sabbe anicchati, sabbe sankhara dukkhati, and sabbe dhamma anattari, it belongs to all the things. And the thing is, in anicca, dukkha, and in Four Noble Truths, all the anicca, dukkha, and anatta are embedded in the dukkha satya as well. It is not just dukkha characteristic. It anicca characteristic, dukkha characteristic, and anatta characteristic, all three are there in dukkha satya, dukkha samudaya satya, nirodha satya, and marga satya, especially the dukkha satya. So dukkha satya has all the three characteristics. It doesn't. That is why we don't need any other anicca satyas and anatta satya, because satya means the truth. So since we did not know the truth, we found blissfulness in wrong ways. Now, when somebody knows the truth, they would focus on eliminating suffering rather than going for delusional blissfulness. That is what truth means. The characteristics would be there And the characteristics of anicca, dukkha, anatta is what led to these truths. So Dukkha Sacca has anicca, dukkha, and anatta nature explained in them. So that is, I hope that that clears the confusion. Yeah, summary point. The reason for starting Four Noble Truths with Dukkha Sacca is that the essence of goal in our life, getting rid of suffering, but Puthajano, yeah, we can, yeah, we can say like that. It's like all of us are, as when somebody is a Puthajana, that person is upside down, and Supreme Buddha explained that person is upside down and tells that person to correct themselves so that they are in the correct posture where the legs are down and head is up. So that is why in most of the suttas it says ukkujjangwa nikkujjaya. So it is like some container which was upside down was turned back to the original side. The understanding was something like that, because all their lives they tried to eliminate suffering through a wrong sutta, that is Anarya Sutta, Chatur Anarya Satya, or for lies, or for lies of finding the blissfulness was taken, but for noble truths were not exercised. So after understanding what noble truths is, that is like changing one's direction 180 degrees. So that is about it. So if we don't have any other questions, then that is all the questions I got during the last 2 weeks. If I had not forgotten anything, if I have forgotten any questions, because it had been 2 weeks, maybe I have forgotten. If not, then we can end the discussion.
Thero Sarnai Swaminathan. I think there's no mention of any more questions at the chat box also.
So then we can end the discussion. So we can end. We are going to end the Dhamma discussion with the Punyanumodana. So let's remind ourselves. Let's take this moment to remind ourselves that we have been listening to Arya Dhamma and trying to understand Dhamma for almost 2 hours now, and understanding Anicca Dukkha Anatta, contemplating on Anicca Dukkha Anatta, is the highest level of meritorious power that one can generate according to the Dakkhina Vibhanga Sutta. So we have been doing that for quite some time, and we are trying to understand and develop, or to follow the Arya pathway as much as possible, ending the suffering samsara, and all of this is Samma Vayama. So we have been practicing the Arya Attangika Magga throughout this time period. And the amount of kusala that is generated is immeasurable. With that immeasurable kusala, all of you may get the perfect background to understand Dhamma, life, refreshness, power, comfort, and wisdom would get completed, ending the suffering samsaric journey, completing the ultimate understanding in Arhat state. Accept this blessing with a sadhukara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
And also, let us spread this immeasurable amount of meritorious power to all the sentient beings in the universe, especially the deceased relations of us, and also the ones who helped us throughout the suffering samsara, teachers, parents, ones who helped us to know what is right and what is wrong, the ones who gave us jobs, colleagues in the workplaces, and the spouses, children, neighbors, and the ones whom we could not mention, the ones who helped us to have this Dhamma discussion, ones who are behind the scene, ones who are maintaining these temples, and the ones who are paying for the internet connections and the devices and everything. And also, let us take this moment to remind ourselves about all the individuals that were harmed and hurted by our actions throughout the suffering samsara. Let's spread this meritorious power to them as well. Let this meritorious power be a compensation to all the negative things that we have done throughout the suffering samsara. All the sansaric bonds of them also get demolished, creating the pathway to Nibbana, ending their suffering samsaric journey. And also, let us spread this meritorious power to all the deities and gods, Brahma gods, in all the 31 planes, and also to all the sentient beings in the universe as well. If they are in miserable places, may they refrain from doing sins, may they replace those sins with meritorious deeds, and may they lead happy lives, ultimately understanding the reality of the world, attaining the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Until then, may they lead happy lives full of life, comfort, power, refreshness, and wisdom. Accept this with a sadhukara, transferring this great meritorious power to all the sentient beings in the universe.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
And let's spread this meritorious power. And after spreading this meritorious power to all the sentient beings, with that, we'll be ending this discussion, and I'll end this discussion with a blessing to all of you to complete the life, complete these 4 entities: life, power, refreshness, comfort, ending the suffering samsara by attaining Nibbana. Abhyavadana siddhissa niccang vaddapchayano chattaro dhamma vaddanti ayuvanno sukham balam ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevachato Nibbana sampatti minate samichatu. May you attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu, sadhu.
Silavantam, Gunavantam, Punyakirtam, Anuttaram, Dullabhedam, Ayalatam, Ditthi, Sattumira. Sariputta Thero Agatam Patipatiya Saddha Silidaya Vasam Buddha Bhuttam Namah. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Theron Sanna Samanans.
Peruvan Sarana everyone.
Theron Sanna.
Sarva Saranai.
Saranai.